届けよ
that is really something that I don't think anyone could have predicted. And there's a big jump in Democrats to Israel. But there's also something in Republicans as well. Even more interestingly, to your point, Bert, about the influence of podcasts. There's a big jump in Republicans aged now have unfavorable
あってはならぬ好きより
still kind of are very supportive of the president
胆力を込めるのと
supporting Israel. So that's a really interesting one to see how that relationship goes into the future as well. And Israel is continuing its war in Lebanon, notwithstanding the ceasefire deal that was this is far from over.
It's really interesting also to see beyond the views on Israel among the Republican Party. All that we've seen this week is incredible crescendo of a law. There's no other way really to say it after the president's message that both on the other side and then started to wipe out an entire civilization. You started to see not just the Republicans who have been skeptical of this war and talked about that some of those points voiced, but real concern among some of the more traditional MAGA Republicans as well. The language of President Trump, obviously Democrats talking about the 25th Amendment, questioning what the president did and but to see some Republicans really see that perhaps this war was about to spiral out of control before the ceasefire was announced really made me think about the situs of this war when it comes to the political consequences for President Trump. And it brings me again back to that New York Times article where J.D. Vance, criminologists, could say that perhaps it was the vice president himself who leaked some of these internal meetings and messages that happened. We don't know to the New York Times, but that was one of the points that he brought up. Why he was
One interesting thing about the civilization threat from President Trump was, in a lot of people's minds from both sides, like the perspective, really highlighted the plight of Iran as a people has become not even a secondary objective in this war. It's almost not discussed at all. It's not discussed. President Trump earlier this year told the Iranian people he would come to their none of that has really translated. There again, I think once this is all said and done, people will be looking to see what the Israelis said about how the Iranian people would react to this. That New York Times story suggested that the Israelis kind of helped convince Trump that this would start to turn uprising inside Iran. That didn't happen. I think even Iranian Americans who supported the conflict saw that civilization and wondered, we're not really talking about what to do. But ultimately, the people.
That New York Times article that was, I'll use a polite word, nonsense. But that was not the word that was used in the room. That just wasn't a realistic sort of end goal of this, and they thought the Israelis were overselling what was on the table. And again, I go back to Marco Rubio in the Capitol a couple of days later to ask about regime change. He said, no, this isn't about regime change. Sure, that would be nice. Are here. So, it's perhaps not surprising that you have heard very little about that these past years. Asked about this, they said what happened because they did person has been replaced, even if the regime itself hasn't. Personality change, even though the same sort of mindset, the same things are still there. So I think, we're talking spoke to some of our colleagues in the Persian service, listening to them about how the Iranians were up to the machine state.
No.
It must be. Staying late to see what would happen. That deadline passed. Stockpiling candles. The civilization wasn't gone. Tower. Closer to there was really a sense of anarchy, a sense of terror created
I think some people close to the White House make the argument that sort of rhetoric is what got Iraq ceasefire. But I think on the ground in Iran and even in foreign capitals, like speaking to some diplomats here in Washington after that, right, they didn't know what to make of it either. So it just shows, on one hand, that this is kind of Trump's classic way of of what he said and the language he used to say it, it really caused a lot of
Wonder if he did in that statement cross a line that really was reflected by some of the reactions across Washington. Senator Ron Johnson speaking to Fox News saying that we're essentially supposed to be the good guy. We're not at war with the Iranian people. We're at war with the Iranian regime. This is not how we speak about going to war with the regime. I wonder, in a way, if that type of reaction would be reflected more broadly across the party. If that reached President Trump.
I got the sense that the White House was kind of unprepared for the reaction. That civilization comment kind of hijacked her elephant's briefing. That became almost as much of a story at that briefing as the ceasefire in general. That was quite notable. One there behind it said that a family member called to say goodbye because of Trump's comments. That's not exactly the reaction the president was hoping for. And they kind of put them on the back foot of having to explain how they went from promising to help the Iranian people on their protesting to now having to explain exactly what the White House, I think, was also caught a little off guard because when many people heard that comment, they automatically thought about the prospect of nuclear weapons and stuff. And there was nothing that indicated that was the case, but just the language used led people to believe that was on the table. They were kind of bombarded with questions about that.
I think that was largely because of what J.D. Vance said. He was asked about it, and he said, the US military has lots of tools in its toolkit that haven't been used yet, and which some people left to say that they're weapons. Obviously, the White House is very good to push back and say there are many other tools before the weapons. But I do think like just a couple of hours before the ceasefire was announced, I had a very loyal supporter of Donald Trump, and I asked him about those comments. He said he fundamentally disagreed with what President Trump was saying. He said his comments were counterproductive. He called on the president to take back those words. So when you start hearing never saying so on a live interview, I feel like now, does it remain close to the war? The ceasefire after do those things go back to the deal came out, and if someone like Senator Lindsey Graham, another very very cold mission around, but he's questioning the deal that President Trump troubling. In a way they are. They're points and plans for to share the proceeds of. Well, that's not at all going to be welcomed by Gulf allies.
No, not at all. And just a follow-up point to Senator Lindsey Graham's comments that his tweets or posts on X that he said, I look forward to the Vice President coming to Congress to explain this agreement and how it serves the American people. And we know, as we mentioned already, that it was J.D. Vance who was opposed to this war, but also that he was one of the main figures who was fielding phone calls, making phone calls to try to get Pakistan to help hold the ceasefire. And Lindsey Graham might point the finger at J.D. Vance there to say, if we end up with a bad deal, who might have been the argument. Whether that's fair or not is hard to say. It's also clear that President Trump's demands on Iran simply are not going to be non-starters. He has said in one of his social posts that no enriching uranium. Iran has never had very likely will. Military experts and diplomats have experienced there was a deal in place from but if the deal that is reached that allows some uranium enrichment and some payment to Iran that is greater than what President Obama, we're going to see that criticism from Democrats and possibly from some of the
Or if the sanctions are lifted on Iran, which some people would suggest is something they want, I mean, that automatically, I think, in a lot of times, a lot of people think that Iran is coming out of this conflict in a strengthened position. I mean, even despite the military losses and all the destruction they suffered, if they were to lift sanctions that have been in place for quite some time now, that's ultimately kind of a victory. I think for the White House, it's kind of a more difficult if the conflict were to resume after they've declared victory. I think that's very difficult to explain to why this thing is still happening, those things were accomplished. And then if the administration uses hostilities, that only became a problem when the operation started in the first place. So it's a very complicated thing if this doesn't work out.
Yeah, I expect that the ceasefire holds that the talks timetable may just keep getting pushed back. That's what's happening with talks. It takes a long time. You know, speaking to various Iranian US negotiations over the years, you know, there's 2 weeks away to particularly because Iran is not in a nuclear. You know, it's discovered that it has this amazing tool in its toolkit, which is the Strait of Hormuz, that it can fire up drones again and basically shut that down at any point that it wants to. It's not anywhere in this world for it for decades and definitely was planning for it since last June when Operation US is in a doesn't want fuel prices remain as high as they are or going even higher. Doesn't want to have to go to money and face a huge debate over funding because again, particularly Republicans, Democrats are particularly Republicans say the discussion and the debate over extra funding for this war effort with Iran is going to be really tight, really long, potentially quite nasty. That's when it's really hard for members of Congress in recent election to go back to their electors and say, oh yeah, it's already cost so much money and now we've agreed for expect that the Washington are still going to push petrol and gas in the car and they're knock-on impacts, financial knock-on.
And to that point, I think there was also a lot of kind of public anxiety already about the defense budget more broadly. They announced a budget of $2.5 trillion, which is a high and kind of a massive increase at the expense of domestic policies that were used by that combined, that doesn't include any funding tied to the confirmation. That is such a campaign gift to Democrats or Republicans or look, I think that's something that resonates a lot.
You do get the sense from the language that President Trump is using for social. He seems ready to move on. He's not looking, he doesn't have much appetite for restarting the fight. As you said, to quite nasty. These are two partners that have known each other and have been negotiating for years. And this takes months, and there is still very limited religion. What does President Trump do? And yet at the same time, he doesn't seem to understand why this is happening. Remember, he said, I think it was on Easter Sunday itself, that he would stay but the American people want the military to come local and to clean the military to be standing by, getting ready for its next what would that be? Does he have his eyes set on Cuba next, or is he going to focus We've talked in the past about how foreign policy was easier for President Trump because he enacted the latter more or less, or has been despite frustration with allies and frustration with allies. But I wonder where he's going to turn his eye to next.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in Latin America, particularly, kind of wondering about that. The administration kind of shifted its focus towards Latin America for a little while as this Iran derailed those plans. There's already reports that they're calling troop deployments in Ecuador, for example, and expanded strikes in that's a big question for a lot of people in this I think is also domestically much more simpler for the president to say that all of that
this time next week, as far as the talks, everything else that's going on in the world, and we barely even touched on the NATO crumbling that we saw this week. So we'll talk about that and if you enjoyed this episode of The President's Path, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would love to hear from you, so do leave us a comment below or email us on path@bbc.co.uk.
僕が出ます
Peace talks in Islamabad. Iran's delegation is there, and so are negotiators from the U.S.
Among them, Vice President J.D. Vance, Envoy Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner. I'm Scott Simon.
I'm Aisha Roscoe, and this is Up First from NPR News. Iran made new demands yesterday, including a ceasefire in Lebanon. We'll have more on the peace talks in just a minute.
Ahead of tomorrow's national election in Hungary, what are voters there telling us about Prime Minister Viktor Orban and his younger challenger, Peter Magyar?
Plus, congressional